saying, why are we having one, part of a community, taking this position for quite a long time? So it has actually gone to one community consecutively. I don't know what you'll have to say about that also. That will be in the pipeline as well to discuss that. But looking forward as well, a lot will be happening this week, especially on Thursday, the budget estimates. I don't know what is your anticipation about this budget estimates?
Of course, what Otiende has talked about is really big for us. I'm a member of a budget committee. We did our budget policy statement and did our calculations in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, because what the figure 335 that Senate is sticking to is not just a figure that we picked out of the blue. It's a scientific figure that takes into consideration matters like inflation and our GDP growth and all that, and the fact that we need to consistently and efficiently fund our county governments. Therefore, if this issue is not properly, there are things that I feel government want to do that are not a priority. For example, there's 40 billion Kenya shillings that members of National Assembly are being asked to fund digitization and modernization of our security agency services. That's a heck of a lot of money, especially at this point in time where we are collecting very little in terms of revenue. Every other budget season, national government continues to plow a lot of money into our security apparatus, some of which I think we can do without. When was the last time that Kenya went to war? Of course, I know that's not the basis upon which you fund your security apparatus, but there is a point where you get that you have got to take a risk and gamble and calculate. This about 10 or 15 billion, because National Assembly is sticking at 316. So there's a difference of almost 20 billion, 19 billion shillings that is at stake. If there's a place that Treasury wants to get that money for, and I feel the mediation committee should go for, it is on this issue of digitizing our security apparatus. It is completely unnecessary, while most of our counties, they are doing nothing apart from paying salaries. Very few counties have got more than 2 billion shillings to spend on actual development. The bulk of these 300, 60 to 70%, actually 70% of these 335 billion that you're asking for goes only to pay salaries and other overhead expenditures. It's only 30% of that, only, which is hardly 100 billion for the entire county, for the entire country, that is going to be used for actual development that will change the lives of our people. Okay. Therefore, that's really big for us, and I hope that we can get to a point of agreement.
And discuss a bit of it about it also. Let's hear from Otiende Amolo, your projections?
Well, we don't have a choice. The matter will have to be resolved. But the point is, as Parliament, we are collectively representing the will of the people. So we should never have such fundamental differences of opinion in terms of what is good for the people. And secondly, I think as Parliament, there is need, and I've made this point before, led by the speakers, for more consultation off the screen and less confrontation on the screen. Yes.
Fantastic. Right, of course, that will be also part of a discussion this morning. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled and, of course, keep out your ears to listen in to what will be happening. You can see also behind me, Boni Khalwale is walking in after a long time. We've not seen him since actually crossed over to the Jubilee Party. So he'll tell us more about this, how is life on the other side. Also, we do have Senator Kimani Matangi with us as well, joining us this morning. Eagerly waiting for Jacomi Midio as well to also join us much later in the course of the program. Right, but let's see what is the good, the bad, and the ugly in our dailies today. We begin with Daily Nation. This is what is the splash today on the front page of the Daily Nation. Another bad idea. Just days after we reported that Kenya signed a bad deal for the operation of SGR, an American think tank is warning that the taxpayer is being forced into 900 billion shillings debt trap for the Lamu Coal Power Project. And this story continues on page 4 of the Daily Nation today. Plant was first mooted to supply power to the SGR and Lapsset projects. And here it says in 2017, China Power Global signed a 200 billion shillings deal with Amu Power for the coal plant, while the Industrial Commercial Bank of China agreed to finance the project for 120 billion shillings. Experts are warning that this is a bad project. You can follow the story on page 4 of the Daily Nation. And of course, also you know about this coal plant. We have also NGOs, especially environmentally leaned NGOs, really castigating this particular project. But find all the details on page 4 of the Daily Nation today. Also, investors take Suraya houses agony to DCI. Investors take Suraya houses agony to DCI is another story that you want to follow on page 3 of the Daily Nation today. They invested hundreds of millions of shillings into a project they hoped will better their lives. Yesterday, they camped at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations as auctioneers put their incomplete projects under the hammer. That is a story that you want to follow also on page 3 of the Daily Nation today. We have also here a standalone picture. Not really a standalone picture, but also there's a related story there. Teachers to blame over funding gaps is what we have as another story here. Principals have failed to accurately register their students in the National Education Management Information System, leading to a cash crisis in schools. The government has, however, assured head teachers that it will address the challenges. This story continues on page 10 of the Daily Nation this morning. Let's see also what we have on the front page of the Standard. Principals roadmap out of syllabus row is another story here. Principals roadmap out of a syllabus row that is hogging the front page of the Standard this morning. It's all about education. To avoid confusion that might roll out in primary school, secondary school, heads want ministry to urgently train teachers on a new curriculum. This story continues on page 6 of the Standard today. Rep of Girls High in City says report. This is a shocking revelation there. 7 of every 100 Standard 6 girls in parts of Nairobi have been defiled in the last 1 year. Some of them more than 5 times, according to a new study. What is Kenya really coming to? This is a story that you want to follow on page 3 of today's Standard. Also, we can see this is a related picture to the headlining story there. Some of the principals attending the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association Conference at the Kenya School of Revenue Authority, Revenue Administration in Mombasa yesterday. Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha will open the conference officially today. That is a story that you can follow also inside the Standard this morning. The Star is up next, and this is what you are waking up to today. On the front page of the Star, heads wants consent age raised to 20 years. This is the principles there. It's all about consummation. Not really. Yeah, consummation. Sex intercourse is illegal under the age of 18, but teachers want to raise age of consent. Mombasa Conference of Head Teachers will discuss proposal this week. This story continues on page 6 of the Star this morning. Also, counties face cash crisis as MPs, senators talks collapse. This also is what Senator Aaron Chirot and Otenyo Amolo also were talking about. County governments are facing a cash crisis after MPs and senators failed in a stormy session to agree on division of revenue proposals 3 weeks to the next financial year. The session yesterday between representatives of the Senate and the National Assembly collapsed. It was aimed at unlocking the impasse surrounding the Division of Revenue Bill 2019. This story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. Governor Sang to face charges in court today. It was a dramatic arrest yesterday, and of course we'll give you that story as well. Nyeri stepfather cuts son's manhood over 50 shillings theft by child. Nyeri stepfather cuts son's manhood over 50 shillings theft by child. Follow that story also inside the Star this morning. Let's continue and see what also we have on the front page of People Daily. Counties face cash crisis as talks stall. Team comprising members of National Assembly, senators differ over latter's proposal to increase revenue from 314 billion shillings to 335 billion shillings. That is what we have on the front page of the People Daily this morning. So make sure you grab a copy of that as well. Let's see what the Taifa Leo is holding for us this morning. There you go. Wachina wauza mitumba Gikomba. This was what was on the front page of the Business Daily. Today is a splash today on the front page of Taifa Leo. Wafanya biashara wa Kenya walia wageni kutoka China kuharibia biashara kwa kuuza rahisi. That is a story that you want to follow also inside the Taifa Leo this morning. Let's move on. We see also what is on the front page of the Business Daily. KRA turns heat on doctors with insurance pay records. Revenue Agency demands medics income records from insurance firms and hospitals. The Kenya Revenue Authority has ordered hospital insurance companies and brokers to file information on doctors' fees payments dating back 4 years in a fresh crackdown on tax evading health professionals. This story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. And this is a new Commissioner General. This is Jem Buru, the new KRA Commissioner General. We shall be discussing about this as well. Some quarters of LDM have been raising concerns about why we are having one segment of Kenya taking up this position consecutively. Also, that will be part of our discussion this morning as well. Still on the front page of the Business Daily, this is Integrity Center, and we can see Mr. Opiyo Wandayi and the Public Accounts Committee Chairman with Archbishop Eliud Obukala, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Chairman, and CEO Twalib Mbarak at the Commission's offices yesterday when MPs went to assess the status of Integrity Center and understand how the National Lands Commission arrived at its declared value of 105 million shillings. This is on the front page of the Business Daily today. UK firm in 3 billion shillings buyout of Kenya oil logistics dealer. Alana Stock Exchange listed company has filed a notice a notice for the acquisition of a Kenyan firm in a transaction valued at 3.6 billion shillings. A British firm, Anglo-African Agriculture, that is AAA, is set to acquire a Kenyan marine logistics company, that is Comaco Group. And you can follow all the details also on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. On the ticker, let's see what we have there. Special firm to run BRT buses. Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia has said the firm will have representation from the public and the private sector, ending speculations as to who will manage the buses to be imported at a cost of 1.6 billion shillings. That is on the ticket today. Today's digit is 4,000. This is refugees said to be living and working in Kajiado County illegally, sparking labor tensions. Also, Eurobond yields drop in markets. Secondary market yields on Kenya's Eurobonds have trended downwards in the first week of June, indicating easing risks, concerns over the economy. And you can follow this story on page 19 of the Business Daily this morning. Let's move on to Tanzania and see what is happening there. Citizen, John Pombe Magufuli, Airtel boss, speak of hard bargained deal. This is a story that you want to follow also inside the Citizen this morning. The government and India-based companies struck a deal that came with 5.27 billion shillings paycheck. Right, President John Magufuli and Bharti Airtel boss Sunil Mittal have shed light into what they both described as tough negotiations for the ownership of the telecoms company trading locally as Airtel Tanzania Limited. This is on the front page of the Citizen as well. Also, BOT further cuts bank reserves. You can follow the story on page 2. And budget, government bunge team discuss hot issues also. That is on page 2 of the Citizen in Tanzania. Mwananchi, the Swahili version of the Citizen in Tanzania. Kilicho waponza bosi TRA waziri. That is what we have as a splash today. Follow the story also on page 2. Siku sita za mpambano kamati ya bajeti serikali. That is another story on page 2 of Mwananchi as well. Also, Papa atoa wito wa amani nchini Sudan. That is another story on page 23 of Mwananchi this morning. Let's move on and we see what is happening also on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Today I didn't get the Daily Monitor as well as I'm still struggling with it, but from tomorrow we'll be working on it to see if we can get. This is what we have latest here. Merger to create aerospace giant is what is on the front page also of the Wall Street Journal. Time zones notwithstanding, United Technologies, Raytheon to form company valued at more than $1,000 billion. That story is tucked away on page 4 of the Wall Street Journal. And look out, people came out in force here. These are protesters who took to the streets in Hong Kong on Sunday to oppose Beijing's latest move to tighten its grip on the former British colony. That is how they came out in force as well. Crowd massed inside the city center there. Hong Kong protesters defy Beijing That is a story that you want to follow also inside the Wall Street Journal as well. This morning, strains linger as tariff flap is settled. That is another story also that you can follow on page 6 of the Wall Street Journal this morning. I want to show you the editorial cartoons finally that we do have this morning. And this is what has been drawn today by Victor inside the Daily Nation today. Focus on the bigger picture, please. And this is all about Gikomba and the Chinese invasion. Right, that is in the Daily Nation today, according to Victor. I just want to hear from our panelists today before we drill deeper to other stories as well. Looking at this editorial cartoon that we have inside the Daily Nation on page 14, what do you think about the Chinese invasion? So they're saying focus on the bigger picture, forget about the Chinese who are actually, getting deeper and drilling deeper into economy now. They're in Gikomba selling their trades as well. Uchenna Molo, what do you think about this editorial cartoon that we have here in the Daily Nation today? My director, Asikeme, just put it back.
Well, I think it's interesting. It is a proper depiction. It is true that the citizens of China have, in fairly large numbers, been able to infiltrate our economy, but we are not the only one. I think I've recently traveled a number of countries, and almost everywhere you see the Chinese influence. I think what's important is not the fact that the Chinese influence is spreading. What is important is that we get the best deal we can get that best serves our purposes as a country. And speaking for myself, I see absolutely nothing wrong with engaging with China and its peoples on the business deals, provided we carefully secure our interest. Our problem in the past, and it's not only with the negotiations with China, but even with other negotiations, including treaties, has been failure to focus on the best interests of the country.
Aaron Cheriot?
Why are you asking Otiende about Gikomba? he has no idea where Gikomba is in the first place. In the first place. So,
he has no so big idea.
You should have asked hustlers. You should have asked hustlers like Boli Halwale or myself. We know where Gikomba is.
He's too young to know where our history lies.
Anyway,
Otiende has been dressing also smartly in Parliament. Recently, it was also a debate.
You see,
his Chinese collar.
Yeah, he has Costa style in Parliament.
Yeah, it was a style in Parliament that it is not in the standing order.
People who go to Gikomba don't co-stars in Parliament. So it tells you, we previously had this discussion about Kenya as a country holding the shorter end to the stick in terms of our foreign trade issues. On many of our major global trading partners, the disconnect between what we export and what we import is actually astounding. And it's really unfortunate that as a country, we have never been able to have a proper discussion with these people. You remember how the other day when Kenyans came back celebrating about that the president had secured this avocado deal with China, only for them to slash us with very stringent regulations that I don't think any single farmer in Kenya has a capacity to meet. Yet when it comes to us, we roll out a red carpet for them in terms of the other end. Therefore, I think either this is a matter that is not squarely within the ambit of Parliament. If it was, we would have found a way to deal with. But you see, these are executive negotiations. And as Parliament, being the house that oversees the operations of the executive, I think we need to stand firm on this particular issue. Because if we do not, many of our citizens then will, in future questions, where were our leaders when this kind of 21st century invasion was taking place? It's really unfortunate. And it's not only, people are complaining about Gikomba. That's a small part of it. On many white-collar jobs that some of these people are taking could actually have been done by Kenyans. And the people that give the work permit clearance at Inea House need to be put to task, Debarl, because our laws as they are, it is only on special skilled jobs that there is no local competence on that you are allowed to give a work permit on. You have seen even with SGR, you cannot tell me it is so difficult to move that locomotive thing that there's absolutely no Kenyan that can do it, such that you end up with Chinese doing it. Manning of the gates at all those stations, it is being done by foreigners. Therefore, this is a very serious issue that I do not think we need to take lightly. And I want to say that at parliamentary level, we must investigate and find out the truth about this particular issue. How many work permits have been issued and why? Because the bigger question should be why. The law as it is right now, the only work permit, the only exception you are given on giving a work permit is where there is no competence and skill locally available. But you know, look at these wares. These people, what permit are they using? They should be arrested as a matter of urgency, because this is completely in contravention with our laws. If you go, you see the bigger debate that is even going on in Europe with Brexit and all that kind of thing is because of work. Because people are saying, as work continues to be scarce, please keep it for the locals only.
Thank you. Boni Khalwale, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, good to see you.
Samir, what this cartoon is speaking to is so important in international relationship that at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of every republic, you usually have a huge desk charged with the responsibility of dealing with matters of trade. For every import and for every export, it is expected that there must be a win-win situation coming out of bilateral talks. So it's very unfortunate that in our country, we have allowed the dread deficit to completely weigh against Kenya in favor of China. Whereas there are certain technical areas that you would allow a foreign country to engage in, but it beats logic how in this country the Chinese are allowed to do little things that can be done by mwananchi. As accurately depicted in that cartoon, you can see that Chinese man in hawking mitumba shoes somewhere in Kisumu. It is therefore instructive that we rise Kisumu or Mombasa.
There's a Gikomba in Kisumu. We can't see Kisumu here. Where is it? But you know, a cartoon you can decipher it the way you want to, yeah?
No, but I've changed my mind. That it is not Kisumu. I had not checked very well. I think I was mistaking Mombasa for Kisumu.
All right, let's see.
I think it is Kisumu.
Okay, yes, you finished?
No, I was just finishing.
Okay.
Nothing really big remaining.
Okay.
And Kenyans remember that we have had foreign countries doing business with Kenya, starting from Germany, the US, the UK, and so on. We have never seen a German man hawking anything on the streets of any of our towns in this country. What is this that we are allowing Chinese to do small things that could have been done by Kenyans? It's failure of the regulatory authority of government.
Right, thank you. Let's hear from Jacob Medio.
Debarl, if we are not careful, you will not have a job very soon.
Myself, huh?
You will be jobless with all our brothers and sisters in the studio. Because we just did this SGR thing without a single Kenyan engineer. Why would we want to give them our jobs? Why? It's true we are over borrowing from them, but Boni and Senator Cheriot are so right. We can't do it for them. We cannot do it for the Chinese. There are stories of Chinese now even chomaring maize in Nairobi West, and they're doing boda in Karen, and all those things. Why would we want to do that as a country? I think Boni is being a bit shy. Boni is protecting the Jubilee government. They are incompetent. Why are you allowing foreigners to do things that our people should be doing? I think, yeah, but he's recently just joined the Jubilee government, so we want to welcome you to that side, you guys. But
I found you there.
no,
I followed you a good example.
no. If I was there, I am the criticizing one who is there, because I think it's our government. But what I'm just saying is, Debarl, I think it is so wrong that we should have Chinese chomaring maize in our country.
Thank you. Right, let's hear from Kimano Matangi.
Thank you, Debarl. The interesting thing in that cartoon is it comes at the time when, remember a few weeks ago, it was I think last week but one, when it took the intervention of the president to have the goods that were held in the port in ICD and other places released. And if you are to open those containers that were being released, they contain probably the same items and artifacts that the Chinese are hawking in Gikomba. And if you remember, that's what I was faulting in our discussion here last week, that there's certain moguls who are behind the whole management of how do you apply restrictions to trade imports, for that matter. If you look at the sector in which the Chinese are infiltrating in Gikomba, you would hardly find any Kenyan in Guangzhou hawking any of our artifacts which we manufacture ourselves here. Yeah. Either be it the Chinese whatever artifacts and nothing, and they are very protective. Indeed, actually, if you went to China and looked at what do Kenyans there do, what are they allowed to do? They operate under a very strict business regime. You go, you register, you have to register with some Chinese there. They are only allowed to do formal business, for example, export or shipping of items or goods coming into Kenya, or else you are formally employed in China. If you go, they have they have very big markets like Gikomba in Guangzhou, Debarl, for information of our citizenry. Such that the way you see items and goods being hawked here in Gikomba, in River Road, they have a replica of the same in China. But 101% is owned by them, that's their trade. And so I think we must raise the alarm that we are being too quickly lured and sold out by the money and the freedom in quotes that we are being given this money under, such that we are opening our gates too wide to allow them to do probably anything anyhowly that they like. The sector of the Gikomba level of business must be left to Kenyans. We have enough people. Indeed, Debarl, the reason why you see we have problems on Mombasa Road and Thika Road and Wayaki Way all the time with hawkers is because there's hardly any space in Gikomba. It's because that market is saturated that our Kenyans have got to come here and do hide and seek and cat and mouse with city council askaris every day, trying to hawk those items they go and get in Gikomba. So one would hardly agree at all that there is any need, any necessity for the Chinese people to be not only doing business in Gikomba. There was a time one was photographed roasting maize. That was, I think, and then correctly in Kisumu. I think now that you had, yeah. I mean, then that time I think it was correctly in Kisumu roasting maize. And not only that, but if you go to these semi-urban estates like Kangemi, if you go to the upper sides of Kilimani, you'll be surprised at what you find Chinese there doing. I found some of them actually selling fish by the roadside. Yes, seriously, you find some of them selling fish. You go into some of the small makeshift restaurants that they make around here. You can't believe what these guys are selling. Indeed, most of them are even doing hawking in cars. You find he comes, drives into your yard, he shows you things that he has bought, things that they would only be allowed by a regime to probably bring into the country, sell at the port or at the point of wholesale, and then leave it to the Kenyans to do that. And lastly, Debarl, actually, this is a whole chain of support from the Chinese local woman in China. I want to step this way because I've been to China on this as a case study. You know how these guys grew what they call the cottage industry? They went down to the grassroots, look at their women groups, small youth groups, and they support them to make those small toys that you see they're selling in Komba and so on. So if they are supported right from the grassroots where they are making those items, toys, beauty products, and then we come and again allow them into the end of the market chain, then we are giving away everything.
Komatangi, today I carried the red card and the yellow card for you.
Thank you.
You see,
Komatangi, the red one.
Komatangi, and the bell as well is coming. We promised last week.
Debarl.
Which one did you show?
You're still finishing.
He's the one on the right hand, which is red.
Now, I'm just reminding him today.
Debarl,
There's a red card and a yellow card for time's sake. Just a moment. Yes.
I wanted to say this. We are conflating three different issues, and we owe it to Kenyans to be clear. The first question is the cheap, what have been called cheap, Chinese stuff, okay? And it ranges from a variety of things. The second one is the question of the loans, which some people have called cheap, some have called expensive. And the third one is the question of the Chinese working, whether it's in roasting maize. Allegedly, Wamatangi saw someone in Kisumu, I don't know when he was there, or selling shoes as Dr. Alwale saw somewhere in Kisumu, and I don't know where. He's confused. He's been in too many places lately. He can't remember
That's
where.
the nature of Tanga Tanga.
Yes. And I'm surprised they're speaking so strongly on this. And yet what the Chinese are doing in the world is what Tanga Tanga is doing in Kenya. They're just Tanga Tangering everywhere. But let's be clear. First of all, in my view, there is nothing wrong with the importation of what have been called cheap Chinese stuff. Because the reason why a lot of stuff is expensive is never because of production, but it's because of the regime. You find anything, whether it's a watch, whether it's a shirt, it's patented, the patent goes elsewhere. These patents never benefit us, including even our own stuff that have been patented elsewhere, like Kiondos. So what the Chinese have done is that they've defied the international order and are able to produce these things in a way that is affordable to other people in developing countries like Kenya. I see nothing wrong with that. Secondly, on the question of loans, we've spoken to that, and I think we all agreed that when you want to take loans or take any money, first there must be prudence around it. But secondly, there must be carefulness to negotiate it to ensure that we get the best deal possible. Whether we need to borrow more or not, we can debate later. Thirdly is now the question of working and selling things. That goes to the work permit. And the question we should be asking is, the person roasting maize, do they have a work permit for it? Do you need a work permit to roast maize? The person selling the shoes. We must be careful with that subject. Because you must know that this is the same thing Kenyans have been accused of in most of Africa. I've been to South Africa when I met a Kenyan roasting maize. I've been to South Africa when I met a Kenyan working in a museum, in Mandela Museum. And I've been to South Africa when I've had the South African complain about foreigners, including Kenyans, invading their country and doing what they ought to do. In recent conversation, Tanzania has become rather hostile to Kenyans for the same reason, that they say that these Kenyans are taking our work, they're doing what we ought to do. So we must be careful what we say of others, because we as a country have immensely benefited through our entrepreneurship into other countries. What we need to do is not to condemn that. What we need to do is carefully regulate it so that let nobody get a work permit for any work that can be done by a Kenyan. But if it is something that is entrepreneurial, let us not hate it merely because it is not a Kenyan. And I think that point is important. Yes.
We don't want to actually dwell on this so much.
A very quick one.
No, completely. Is it Jakoyo? It's Jakoyo's time. Omatangi, we're going sequentially. Sequentially. Right.
No. Yes.
What he's good at, because he's good at the constitution, he's good in the courtroom, but I think you need not on trade, not on business, not on those kind of relations. Otiende Amolo, there you don't have it.
Maybe because
there is on Otiende that you find, for example, a deal like Brexit is forcing the Theresa May out of office is largely about trade, restrictions and barriers. And protectionism, which is regulated. The reason why you find that there exist regions like ECOWAS, like COMESA, is because there has to be some sense of regulation. The reason why you cannot just go to the US and dump everything that you get from Guangzhou in a container is because there has to be regulation.
But
there has to be some level of protection of local industry.
You're missing it because you know why actually Otende is supporting this particular trade.
Yes.
It's because he's wearing a Chinese collar. What will happen to him?
You got it. But I warned you earlier.
This is called a Mandarin collar.
A Mandarin collar. Yeah.
Mandarin is Chinese.
And its history, by the way, is in Eastern Europe. And we can discuss that later.
Okay, let's hear from Jakoyo.
Debarl, whatever the color, it should be interesting. We don't know when the last time Otiende visited China. But Otiende, you are wrong, because you can't have a roast maize, a Kenyan roasting maize in South Africa, and you're celebrating it because it's supposed to be reciprocal that a Chinese is doing it here. Please, we can't be all wrong. These people, whoever is bringing them here, must not be good for Kenya. Whoever is bringing these Chinese people here, first of all, they're after port of Mombasa. They have built this port, which is supposed to have been BOT. Build, operate and transfer. How are we slapped with a 400 billion shillings loan by the Chinese? You know, this corruption thing, it must just end. They must stop bringing money using jets. They must stop bribing politicians. And they must stop taking away our little job. The jobs are so menial. You know what Wamatangi is saying? Kikomba is congested. When you see people bringing containers in Kikomba, you must really fight. And I want to thank you, Debarl. I've watched you the last couple of days. These people must leave Kikomba because that's all we have. We can't thank them for coming to Kikomba. Let us import, let us sell, let us employ our own people. We can't do it for them. We cannot. We must stop these people from coming to Kikomba because Kikomba is the highest. The next thing you will see them is Migosi or Kondele or Obunga. You know, then you will see them in Kakamega. You will see them in Eldoret. Kiamaiko. No, we must stop them. Let us just rebel against them. To me, call it hate speech, but I think something is going wrong somewhere.
Absolutely.
All right.
They can do roads.
Yeah, they can do. Yeah,
I mean, they can do big plants and big projects at that level. Probably at very expertise level. But the manual jobs, the labor jobs, that is for Kenyans. I mean, if you look at the level of unemployment right now amongst the young people in Kenya below 35, it's alarming. But that is not it's alarming. So you cannot say that you liberalize every sector to allow them to come and take what
you are both not listening to me. Because like what you've said, that is where we all agreed. What you're now saying is the point I was making. That it's at the point of regulating the work permit issue. Because for anybody to do that, by the time you get a visa to come into this country, that visa must read something. If it's a tourist visa, you can't start doing any business or any work on that tourist visa. So the question must be, who is the one who then gives that kind of work permit? And that's where we all agreed that there must be very strict regulation. I think the point of distinction was in terms of whether we need the loans, how we should regulate it, which we also agree on. But the fundamental point I was making was the idea of importing cheap Chinese stuff. For me, I support anybody who can import anything that will eventually be cheap for the ordinary mwananchi in Kenya. I will not support any idea that now, because it's not from China or elsewhere, maybe, it should, because of all these regulations.
So what happens? What happens to the Buy Kenya?
That's
no.
all.
Just a moment. What happens to the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya mantra? Just a moment. Where am I now?
You're completely off rail today.
Allow us to speak.
Okay, Matangi, allow Boni Khalwale to speak.
I think I'm very disturbed by what my brother has said. It is only a few months ago when we were very unhappy that people were importing fish from China. So as far as my friend is concerned, there's nothing wrong with fish being imported from China and the one from Lake Victoria.
Those are your words, not mine.
It is called interpretation.
I spoke of
can
the
you
patented
relax?
stuff.
Can you
Cheap
relax?
is not patented.
Can you relax? So you cannot say
I'll explain.
you cannot say you are happy with anything that is cheap which is brought in the country. I talked authoritatively at the beginning about the need for us to have a win-win situation. For every import that comes into the country, it should also be justified by what we are exporting, because it results, my brother, in something called a trade deficit. So long as a trade deficit is against you, then you are not in business at the international level. Now, coming to the area of saying Kenyans are working outside the country, I can tell you authoritatively, as somebody who served for 5 years in the East African community as assistant minister, that all the young people you see working in Tanzania and Uganda and in Rwanda have work permits. Work permits are a must, whether you're going to do a professional job or you're going to do as simple a job as even including commercial sex.
There's a work permit for that.
Oh yes, to work in a nightclub. Those girls must be cleared. You saw the other day a big incident that was there about Japanese girls who had come in the country.
They have work permit.
Yes,
You
they have
cannot
work
get a
permit
work
to
permit
perform.
for what is illegal.
To perform.
Seriously.
But I think, Boni, you're mixing issues here.
You see,
Let's not gravitate to...
Boni was doing so okay until, until he got into, I think, nightly activities.
On that note...
He should have left his discussion at 6 p.m. The minute he went into the night, we got into trouble. Anyway, Debarl, here's my point.
Carry on.
Yeah.
So that people don't think my light touch was meant only to tickle the panel. You know what goes on in red light districts all over the world.
Yeah.
It is actually okayed through the back door.
Yeah.
To this extent. If you go to a city like Bangkok, okay, they permit red light district activity by calling those points massage saloons. Yeah. So
Okay,
whereas
all right. Let's not gravitate to that. Please. Yeah. On that note, Boni Khalwale, we have Aaron Cheriot and Senator Matangi, and they've been wishing to welcome you officially to Jubilee Party.
Yeah.
We saw you crossing over, and the Deputy President also gave you a cap as well. So they have presents for you as well, and they wanted just to also do that before we take a short break, to just welcome you to the Jubilee. So I hand it over to Aaron Cheriot.
It's my great pleasure, viewers, this morning, to welcome the indefatigable super senator, a man I have known for many years, having served with him in Parliament, and I know how much he deeply cares for this country, into the great Jubilee family. Therefore, Boni Khalwale, we organized something small with Debarl and the whole production team of our show, just to ensure that you are properly donned for the show, and there is a cake to boot, just to welcome you to Jubilee, because we treasure your inclusion into our team. You can only make us better So I think Debarl,
Yeah, Usha is here. Of course.
Usha is here to do it for us.
Our assistant producer, and of course she will walk over now. We have this particular cake that Wamatangi and Aaron Cheriot, they prepared for you.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it says, welcome to Jubilee Party, bullfighter. So, karibu sana.
and you know,
Of course, Jakoyo is salivating, but until he publicly joins the team,
yes.
you will not have the privilege.
And
Usha,
you know,
our viewers should just you see. That slogan, Bonnie, it means
Let Bonnie receive the cake.
no, we will receive. Just wait.
We want to say something.
and
Just
also
as silent
officially-
witnesses.
officially,
Okay.
Then give us. There is something also for him to don.
yes, and officially,
This is a kitenge or what?
No. This is not a
beautiful
kitenge.
shirt.
You know, it's a beautiful shirt, and we'll start with the cape, Bonnie. Welcome to the squad.
Welcome to the party of Prosper.
What is this?
Should we take you to the dressing room maybe?
No. It's you know, in football, there's what they call the transfer season. And on behalf of our party leadership, we gladly receive Bonnie Halwale.
And you know, gentlemen and lady, in my language, there's a song we sing in my culture.
Yes.
So I would teach you the song we sing. Welcome.
So we'll sing. Teachers will sing a bit before we take a short break.
So Otiende and Jakoyo, if you want to have a future into making this country great, it can only be this side. Where you are, you can do very little.
We will talk about that.
The only difference is the times when Jakoyo appears and comes to Jubilee, and the times when Bonnie Halwale comes, because Bonnie Halwale comes in the daytime.
Yeah.
So Jakoyo and Otiende normally.
Jakoyo is a Nicodemus.
And including Otiende, of course. Of course, they come in the evenings, but if they come in the daytime, you also qualify.
Where's Jubilee?
For
people to come.
You know,
So first of all, you have come
Just
to
a
receive
moment.
Dr. Wale here. How come you also
you need now to cut the cake.
We
First of
said
all, where are your offices?
Okay, just a moment.
the only change you need to make is the timing, the time of arrival.
Yeah.
If you arrive at good time in the daytime,
Wamatangi, we will deal with you shortly.
We will deal with
We know that you can't even hold the cake properly. Okay. So you are on your way out.
welcome to Jubilee, Bonnie.
Yes.
As for Jakoyo, I had forgotten something.
Yes.
There is a verse in the Bible that says you can't get to God but through Jesus Christ. For Jakoyo Midiwo, you can't get to Jakoyo but through Musalia Mudavadi. So we will talk to your party leader.
but we also have to agree that also Jakoyo and Otiende also qualify for a bite.
Yeah.
yes.
So
for a bite.
definitely-
For a bite.
In the spirit of handshake.
No. Give the gentleman you've just welcomed his share of cake.
On
And
account,
the rest of the crew,
On-
as
on
we are entitled to the last bite.
on account,
No.
on account
Out of
of
sympathy. Out of sympathy.
There's how to fear.
You know,
Okay.
Dr. Lwale, this might be a celebration,
This is not
but
my
it might also be a funeral.
At least
All right, just a moment. So we want to hear from, because we want to take a short break, we want to hear from Bonnie Halwale. And Jakoyo, I think also you're really touched. You actually stood because you're being castigated, accused actually, of visiting Jubilee Party at night.
Take your cake.
The-
What a story
No, but you are the one to receive it first. It is your cake. You know, you may not be schooled in this manner.
The cone is already eating.
Feed him first. It is his cake.
Okay.
And then let Wamatangi take a bit so that we are sure he's still in Jubilee. Then we can now come to us for comments.
Okay.
You know, the
All right. We want to take a short break right now. When we come back now,
we now visit.
Yeah, Boni. Actually,
we
Wamatangi, you've eaten your mic.
Debarl.
You've just eaten your mic. We can't hear you. Yeah?
No, we generally eat in funerals. So.
Yeah, thank you. So, Bonnie, when you come back, you'll tell us. So, which side of Jubilee are you in? Is it the Tangatanga or the Keleweke?
Gentlemen, I want to say before I eat this cake that it's in our tradition to eat at funerals.
It's a funeral because they have lost actually. They have lost.
right, we are still, of course, enjoying our cake this morning. This is a big leap for Boni, who has crossed over to Jubilee, and of course, here as one of our resident panelists, we celebrate him as well. And back to our panelist this morning, who wants also to react on this particular cake. You enjoyed it, Jacomi Dio?
Yeah, the cake is okay, especially the part which is not red. because we, suppose there was Jubilee. Remember I said a few years ago here, or 2 years ago, that there's no more Jubilee. So I don't know which one Boni has joined, although I know he's in Tanga Tanga. But Tanga Tanga nowadays, I see them wearing yellow. They don't wear red.
But there's yellow here.
No, there's nothing yellow there, unless you're colorblind.
That's his propaganda.
There's yellow. And of course, you can see Boni is donning a yellow shirt today.
Oh,
How blind could you be?
And a red tie.
And a red tie.
Yeah, because it's Jubilee proper.
that is also not red. So you guys, how colorblind can you get?
All right.
But I want to tell you, Amatangi,
Yes.
that I've never come to your house at night.
Yes.
I will not come. If you want to deal with us through the handshake, which is what is reigning. Eh?
I'll be answering to that in a few minutes after it is my turn. Now I'm quiet and letting you speak. As is the
Why you
discipline.
that is how you keep quiet.
We are a disciplined panel.
No,
but when it gets to
we are in Boni's funeral. Otiende has correctly said, we eat in funerals and we love it. And I'm sure Boni also eats in funerals.
Okay.
So we Boni, may you rest in peace.
Let's hear from Mutenda Mall as we're winding up on this.
So now I don't know whether to give a eulogy or a statement. But let's just say that it's an interesting ceremony today. Eh? If you were to describe this event, we have Debarl as the master of ceremony. We have Pastor Aaron Cheriot presiding. if it was a wedding, we have the bride, Dr. Boni Halwale, but the groom didn't turn up. Only his brother turned up. That is Senator Matangi. And then we have Jacoy and I as the witnesses. So if it was supposed to be a wedding, it's a failed wedding because we have a bride without a groom. And that is the definition of the tragedy that Dr. Halwale finds himself in. Dr. Halwale moved away from a clear political formation and crossed over into an area where no one could receive it. Nothing is more telling than the fact that for all that Dr. Halwale has done, the best he can do in terms of being received is by my brother Aaron Cheriot and Senator Matangi, who has aptly said that they are receiving him on behalf of the Jubilee Party. Now, Nation has become the Jubilee Party. Second, wait, Cheriot, wait. Please create a distinction. And Wamatangi, this is important, between what Boni does and what we do. We have not joined Jubilee. We joined hands with government through the handshake and working through BBI, which we did during daylight, and that's where we stay. You will never see me in Jubilee during the day or at night. You will only see me working through the handshake and the BBI initiative, which, as I've always said, we expect to have the report shortly for the betterment of this country. I would not join Jubilee because that would be suicidal. And as far as I know, only those with suicidal tendencies like Dr. Halwale can do that. For me, I cannot. Lastly, I think that it is quite apt. If you see the way the gentleman addressed today, Wamatangi have always been worried, but your choice of a yellow tie is telling today when you are receiving Halwale. Now, Aaron Cheriot, you can see that he is a bit conflicted. He can't know whether to stay red or not. As for Dr. Halwale, he clearly had adorned yellow. That's why his shirt is yellow. But remembering that Jubilee, or the party formerly known as Jubilee, is a difficult area, he is not so sure. So he also put in a touch of red. so that whichever way the wind flows, he will be safe. All I can wish you is well, my brother. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, let's hear from Wamatangi.
It is important that you also allow us to just have a quick one on this because, one, I want to say that we are welcoming Dr. Halwale. And Dr. Halwale is not a man of no means or mean achievement in the political arena in Kenya. And his contribution, the way he has done it all the way, since the time when he joined politics, is immense. It is outstanding. And once you have a man of his experience, of his know-how in Jubilee, then you know that you're having a partner who is formidable, who can be able to move and create and go to new horizons with you. Lastly, I want to say precisely what we said off camera, because this has been depicted from the times of Jesus Christ himself. And the story of Nicodemus is told largely. And you know, there is this thing that we say in politics a lot, that I'll make the announcement when the right time comes. and I want to say to the two gentlemen there at the end, with all due respect, that we have heard you. And for purposes of consumption, for the public, and the rightfulness of the time when you choose, when it comes, then you will still make the announcements you may want to make. But let it be known that from the things you say and the things we do, there is absolutely nothing conflicting between what Boni Halwale, doctor, does and what he's doing in Jubilee and what you do. No. It is only... It is on in terms of, as far as I'm concerned, you know, now, Jacoyo, we agreed you speak and I speak. Now, why you speaking when I'm speaking? So let me, you can still ask for a right, ask for a right of reply after I've spoken. Yeah.
Thank you.
Like what I just wanted to be clear on, Debarl, is to say to Jacoyo, Nicodemus, and my brother Otiende Amolo, that things that are done in the daylight all the time in light are always righteous. They are good. They are applaudable. And that makes you proud. So what we just want to say to you is when the right time comes, after you're done with BBI and all the other things, you are welcome. And we will be holding an even more grand ceremony for you.
Thank you.
Two of us here.
All right, I think we should give now Boni Halwale. You haven't spoken.
You know, Otiende said something that I must respond to.
Okay.
How could Otiende say that that the worst depiction of Boni is being received by Aaron? You know, I want... No. Just keep quiet.
But
you
we
know,
saw,
there's a history.
We saw actually it was being received by Deputy President on that particular picture.
Yeah.
And he got his cap from the Deputy President as well. Boni
You know,
Halwale.
there's a history of Jubilee that Otiende doesn't know. Let me tell you, Otiende, Jubilee as a party is a formation after the collapse of 14 political parties, and all shades and colors from all the parts of this country. That we eventually said we are tired of politics of division, politics that are organized around ethnic enclaves. And therefore we formed a party that reflects the diversity of our nation. And they all folded into the then known as JAP, you know, and now became Jubilee Party. Last parliament, there were only 2 members of parliament that were elected on Jubilee Party. It was myself and the governor for Kiambu, Governor Ferdinand Waititu. The rest were either on URP, TNA, New Ford Kenya, UDF that Boni Halwale used to belong to. Therefore, when I receive Boni Halwale, it is very significant in terms of longevity as a member of parliament in Jubilee. There is only one other person who has served longer. That is Governor Babayao. The rest, including the president and his deputy, joined me in JAP. So I am not just a low-ranking member, as Otiende would like the panel to believe. So, Boni, you have been properly received. And finally, you know, Debarl, we keep on discussing here about the challenges that we have in government and how things are not going on right on 1 or 2 areas. Eventually, when the time will come for us to put out a scorecard of what Jubilee will have achieved, say, if it is in the next, by 10 years' time, we will have a very proud record to put out.
Thank you.
Make no mistake of the fact that when we complain that there are no good things that are happening in this country, there are very good things that the president and his deputy have achieved for Kenya.
Right. Let's give this chance to Boni. Your former party leader says that is the party leader for Kenya, Moses Wetangula. He's unmoved by your defection. He terms your move as a leap to the unknown, and you're likely to suffer a political blow. So maybe you can react to that also, and you can give us your acceptance speech this morning.
Over the years, because we've been here for a while on this panel, we have actually formed a family. And sometimes when you look at it critically, this is another home away from home to those of us who've been loyal to this program. Chakoya and I and Wamatangi. Of course, Cheruiyot came recently, so did Amolo. So it's home. And therefore, I take this grand reception by my family members of this panel to mean it is a homecoming party. They are welcoming me. I have won a trophy away from home, and now this ceremony is meant to receive me. I want to say thank you very much. Having said that, let us look at the political implications of what I did. That can only come through the test of time. Look, some people who lead Jakoyo and who lead Amolo, when they choose to make political decisions that have got far-reaching ramifications, they do it as a personal decision. And they want to wrap it over everybody that they were doing it for their people. In my case, because I represent a defined constituency called the County of Kakamega, when I made this decision, I did consultations for 1 year and 3 months. And when I announced, we invited 7,000 delegates from all the villages of Kakamega. And because I was moving out of Fort Kenya as a deputy party leader, I'm glad that also the deputy party leader of Jubilee granted me the grace of receiving me. Now, for people like Amolo and Jakoyo, who choose to live in the past, Kenyans have moved away. Kenyans don't want that old bad past of our tribes, our enclaves, our communities, and what have you. If you think I'm lying, and go and reflect on this, what befell you in Wajir West during the by-election? What befell you in Embakasi South during the by-election? And more significantly, what befell you in Ugenya by-election? The country has changed. And if you don't want to change, my two brothers, change will change you. Thank you very much.
Let's hear from
you asked him which faction of Jubilee he is in. You asked him whether he's in Tanga or he's in
There's none.
For the record, it is important to say that there is only one Jubilee. One.
Exactly.
And Boni Halwale is in Jubilee, the party, which is led by His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, deputized by William Samoei Ruto. That is why that's Jubilee.
Two quick comments. First of all, even a nursery school child knows there are two factions in Jubilee. So when Wamatangi tries to tell us that there's only one, you know, Wamatangi has always been in that dilemma. So his tag of Tangi still remains.
Absolutely. I said
even the viewers are asking, wait, even the viewers are asking Halwale, tell us which faction you have joined. Secondly, I dare Wamatangi.
Yes.
And I want to repeat this. Speaking for myself, I have never and will never join Jubilee. I will work with government within the formal structures. And I dare you now, I dare you tomorrow. If there's anything you know about why I should join Jubilee, say it. And I will still tell you I won't join. Having said that, to my brother, Dr. Halwale, as we have agreed that it all depends on how you look at it. Personally, although I'm laughing, it is a sad day for me because you are my friend and senior in politics. And you do not celebrate when you are at a funeral. But I really do think that you have carefully planned your funeral, executed it, and those who are presiding over it, like my friend Aaron Cheruiyot and Wamatangi, are smiling all the way, not because it is good for you, but because for them, it succeeds in breaking up what they believe is the Luhya effort at unity. This thing, and where my political persuasion lies, has nothing to do with tribe, it only has things to do with belief. And Dr. Luale can assure you that if I believed in you, I would support you irrespective of tribe. If I didn't believe in you, I wouldn't. And right now, my belief lies with the NASA side, as particularly represented in ODM, in terms of whoever is the leader.
We need to wind up on this as well. Jaco, we'll come to you. Jaco, lastly. Jaco.
Last Wamatangi.
Yes.
You know, in weddings, but although this is a funeral, in weddings they always say, if anybody has any reason why the two
Should not be joined
do not be joined.
in holy matrimony.
If you have any reason to believe I am Jubilee by night,
Yes.
it is your opportunity.
To say it.
Yes, and my brother Aaron, let me tell you this. You know, you say you are the second elected person in Jubilee.
Yeah.
Remember I told you before? You are the experiment of rigging. Which you didn't have that. You never won that. We just took it from our friend. So all of you, anyway, let's move on to another chapter.
All right, let's move on now. Let me just read
but-
some of the... Yes.
But
because a lot to cover.
At the end, they dared me. I mean, you should.
You dared you?
Yeah,
Just
he
about...
dared me. He dared me.
How do you allow Jacoy to make such disparaging remarks against me? And you don't want to give me a chance to rebut.
You have to allow us.
Okay, briefly. A minute to Matangi.
You know, because Otiende Amolo and Jacoyo spoke in a lot of English, that you have any reason to think that I have joined Jubilee. Otiende Amolo in basic English, and you're good at English, I know that. The word join means also to blend, to coalesce. those are terminologies that mean join. And you very well and eloquently expressed yourself, how you have been working with building bridges initiative and so on, and at arm's length. But if you dared me to explain whether you have blended and coalesced, I would say the evidence is out there on the treetops. And so does my brother.
Where is he?
Okay, thank you.
So does my brother Jacoy. But you know.
Thank you, Matangi.
But you know, Debarl, as I finalize on this, it is only that sometimes when we are live on TV, for example, in a show like this, it's very tough. That's actually where you find in Christian crusades and rallies, it is a big deal when you find people being told that those of you now that accept, please stand up and walk up here on the podium. You will find that getting somebody to rise up, sometimes you have to hold their hands and literally lift them and take them up there. Now that is the dilemma that these two gentlemen are in. But probably after a little more persuasion, then maybe the party we held today will be held for them maybe in another 2 or 3 weeks.
Thank you. No. Let me tell you, as we're winding up on this, Wamatangi, there is hope. You know where Boni used to sit?
Yes.
Where Otiende is sitting.
And
lately he's been gravitating towards Jubilee, and now he's sitting next to
Now
you.
you see where he is.
So there is still hope.
You see.
But Debarl,
Do you know
this way, not this way?
Debarl,
Thank you. We need to wind up on
if
it.
you want to know there is hope, just look at the events. You asked us a few minutes ago what were some of the earth-shaking events politically we saw last week. The chairman of ODM, on Sunday announces how opposed the party is to the new currency. On Monday morning at 9, I have never seen a press conference at 9 a.m. in the morning on Monday. The chairman of ODM calls a press conference and says, no. As a party, we really support this. That tells you where ODM is.
Why are you discussing the chairman of ODM? We were discussing Boni
These are the party members.
and yourself.
Okay.
Debarl, I must.
You're finishing.
I wanted to persuade my brother Amolo.
Yes.
Your attempt to become an authority on Luhya affairs should also be backed with the evidence that you know something about Luhyas. Now, out of the blues, you then say, my two brothers, upon receiving me today, they are celebrating the collapse of the disintegration of Luhya unity. Let me ask you, if you think your community is so united, where was that unity when Ruto defeated you in Ugenya?
Ruto never defeated. Look at this guy. But you're allowed to.
Let's wind up. He was winding up.
Hallucination is also allowed.
Okay, let me just read some of the tweets as we move on to other topics, right? We need to wind up on that. Thank you. Right? We have Judy Muredi, and she's saying, you should see how Jacoy has had a happy bite of the Jubilee cake. He's happy for his fellow. He's happy for his fellow. Vuka pia boss, karibu sana Boni Mteterezi to the victorious team, right? Hey, Jacoyo. Also, Mary Muyonga is saying, you folks make my day. Enjoy the cake to those celebrating and those morning. Cake is a cake. Also, we have John Indiatsi saying, good to see Boni. Boni is Mteterezi's induction into Nyumba Kubwa, yeah, Jubilee Party. Also, we have Kiprono Abraham saying, these guys wako na drama sana. But I like it. It is not just confrontation between Jubilee and ODM. Light moments are good for the show as well. Yeah. Also, we have Dr. Jen Omwenga saying, wow, welcome Boni to the winning team. Let's make Kenya great with the best team. This season for transfer. The season for transfer is now. And
Omwenga is a professor.
Also, Jack Atambo is also celebrating our own Usha. He says, on behalf of the Boy Child movement, I wish to welcome your assistant producer Usha to the screen. She has totally brightened the show this morning. Asante sana. I think we should get Usha back to the show when you used to handle the social media.
Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe make her the lead anchor.
The lead anchor.
Then we make
you
Debarl
do with me. I can see where the interests are. The Jubilee Party interest. Thank you very much. All right, we move on now to the politics, of course, of the week that has been. And lately, we saw leaders behaving badly. This maybe also should interest Jacob Midio, the Member of Parliament of GEM. We can see him here, actually, beating up one of the residents of GEM. And I think this was because he had put a post on social media regarding the CDF funds that he was actually, they showed actually the Member of Parliament being deposed by the EACC officials. So how this guy came to be beaten, well, we do not know. And we wonder what was the saga all about. And of course, also in Nandi, we saw as well something happening lately as far as public land is concerned. This has also drawn a lot of flack as far as leadership is concerned, saying that Governor Sang, overreacted as far as the land grabbing is concerned. We'll have those pictures momentarily for you as well.
What is that ball behind the... It looks like the guy is wetting his hands first to slap the man, or what's happening? Behind it.
I think that's a water tank.
It's a water tank.
Oh, that's a water tank. That's what I'm asking, whether he's wetting his hands first. What the slaps can land nicely. But is that man who's being beaten, is his hands tied, or why is he sitting down and just getting slapped?
He's actually surprised. He was caught by surprise. He just showed up and he was being beaten black and blue because of a post he put up on Facebook.
Is that a gentleman? Just sit down to be whacked like that.
Okay, so we also, if maybe we're just really waiting for the pictures of Governor Sang as well. He was arrested yesterday. He'll be arraigned in court today, but we saw him, wading through a coffee farm, uprooting the coffee. And the story, of course, we understand that public land has been a controversial one. It has been, it was actually grabbed. So we want just to hear from you, especially Jacob Midio. This is your Member of Parliament.
No, but
earlier on, we before you actually came in,
No.
Maybe we can hear from Jacoyo before we... Jacoyo.
No, that's the gentleman. The Otiende group gave my seat.
The Otiende group?
Otiende Amolo.
The ODM cartel.
The ODM cartels. But it's unfortunate that we should get there. But I like what the media is doing, Debarl, that you are putting us to task. It's not like all of us have not behaved badly in the past, but I think we are now in the 21st century, and I think the media is doing a good job. And I think when you point it out, you restrain us from behaving badly, just leaders behaving badly. I am more concerned about the Nandi governor. I'm very concerned because I've seen him in border wars. He is in too many controversial bad issues. And I think we need to restrain people with executive authority from doing that kind of thing. It's not like we are but I think the media is now doing a good job. That's all I can say.
Aaron Cheriot?
Well, Jacoyo was very guarded. The reason viewers Jacoyo is guarded is because I think this is a game thing. Jacoyo has done worse than his MP. You do remember there were photos on August the 9th after election results were out of what was then rumored to be Jacoyo beating up his voters, people who had taken money from him.
For admitting. Why are you crucifying me for admitting?
Okay, so since Jacoyo has admitted and he has repented, on behalf of, I want to apologize to all the constituents of Game who get beaten up by the MPs.
But the guy is not from Game. That is in Kisumu town.
So anyway, but on a broader discussion, Debarl, you see, there's something we need to discuss one day. You guys, maybe you don't feel it because it doesn't happen to you as much, but the issue of cyberbullying, especially to people who are in public spaces, it can be members of parliament or various leaders. Just the fact that because somebody has an access to a smartphone, that they can wake up and insult you, insult your family, say nasty things about you. You know, people react to things differently. Some of us have, maybe over time, you grow a thick skin and you don't mind about it, that you say, okay, it's fine. You know, but it cannot be okay that somebody just writes something that is so outrageous and false about you. And because you're a member of parliament, because you live in the public space, you're just supposed to be okay with it. I think we need to have a broader discussion about it. We have seen in other countries where this has even caused people to perhaps be mentally deranged or suffer mental breakdown just on account of cyberbullying. It's a very topical issue that people are treating lightly, but it isn't. You know, at the end of the day, these people, members of parliament, they're human beings, just like anybody else, despite the fact that you may call them honorable members. You know, there's only so much that someone can take. Therefore, until we have a constructive argument about what are the limits, what is constructive criticism, I have said before that I do not mind people who criticize me because that makes me a better leader. But the people who go outrightly out of their way, one, to spin lies about me, and secondly, to be outrightly disrespectful and insult you. Sometimes they go even to the extent of insulting your own family. You know, it's not right, and it cannot be okay. And we should never be comfortable sitting down and saying, oh, so long as it's just this is expected of so and so. It's not fair.
Does that give you the latitude then to react the way this honorable member is actually reacting in a dishonorable way?
Why do you want to lump them up together? That's where we get it wrong, as if they cannot be treated separately. We can discuss the issue of people misbehaving. Yes, that we have had that discussion. But does it mean we also are not supposed to discuss about the young people that are misbehaving? The people that wake up and say, oh, I don't like Otiende, he looks like what? They go on to insult his family. It's not okay. That's what we are saying. As much as you expect of us leaders to behave properly, that is expected of us. But you people, these online goons that wake up on each and every day, all they do is insult people from morning to evening. You want to say that that's a fair way also of living our lives?
Okay. But on this particular incident, we had this particular member of parliament, not any member of his family was insulted.
Yeah.
It's an issue to do with the CDF,
Yeah.
right? And the misappropriation of that fund. That we have a shadowy college, maybe, was it in Narok? And is it Nakuru? Yeah, and we have a shadowy college in Nakuru that monies are being transferred. But
No.
Yeah,
That wasn't the issue.
Which is being posted.
The issue was that the young man had posted that Elisha is arrested and is currently at ESCC offices.
Oh, yeah,
then he shows up and says,
what was the rhyme and reason for being arrested in the one? Why should you be arrested by
it is a falsehood. It wasn't true. That's why
No,
if you listen
Point of
to that clip,
Point of
that young
correction.
man,
Point of
listen,
correction.
if you listen to that video, that young man is saying, I have deleted the post to confirm that he had written something.
Mheshimiwa, I saw that we can...
You know, Jacoy has an interest in
No,
this
no, I
matter.
have an
He
interest,
can
but
never,
it is good
he
to
can never
speak
be
the
fair
truth.
to Elisha.
Bwana.
Okay, let's just
That's
listen to
the
his
truth.
side. Let's
He
listen
can't
to
be
his
fair
side.
to Elisha.
No,
Okay.
but what have I said which is wrong?
By the way, I have not defended what Elisha did. I can never beat up any constituent. I have people who abuse me. I have people who are outrightly disrespectful.
Could we?
But I only shifted my conversation to say,
Okay.
much as we condemn,
I'm interested to hear what Jacoy has,
Much
has
as
to
we
say.
condemn-
He's actually come from that particular...
Senator.
Okay,
Let
area.
me correct you what it was.
okay,
Elisha was summoned by ESCC, by ESCC's own account, to talk about embezzlement of game CDF bursary funds. The boy, his crime was only to broadcast it, which I think is really affront to freedom of expression.
then why did he delete it?
The boy deleted it because he was going to be beaten, and he was eventually beaten.
No.
No, I'm telling you, the boy even said, listen to the clip. I am telling you the truth. I have no reason to lie about my brother Elisha.
Okay.
No reason whatsoever.
Okay. Let's say from Otende, we'll get to...
First of all, just like my brother Jacoyo, you are duly given your time when you are MP for Game. I think it is fair to give Honorable Elisha Odhiambo his time when he is the MP for Game. He is the duly elected Member of Parliament for Game, as confirmed by the court. And so it cannot be a question of me and my team having imposed that. That's number one. Number two, I have seen the clip. I have heard the allegations, including the ones Aaron Cheruiyot is giving, the ones Jacoyo Midio is giving, and I do not know where the truth lies. I will be content, just like we said here 2 weeks ago, when we were discussing the issue of Wetangula, I will be content to await the investigations by the police, because as I understand it, the police were investigating the matter. But thirdly, the point Aaron Cheruiyot was making is a point that is important to note. Some of these gentlemen who've been here longer perhaps have suffered this more, but some of us who are new at this, it is very agonizing. It's as if to be an elected leader is a license to be a target of stone throwing. The bullying is serious, and it is not just serious that people say things which are untrue about you. Where it's particularly agonizing is that they get to now attack your family members who are not themselves practicing politicians, and who are then deeply agonized to the point of wondering what to do. And the tragedy is this. It is obvious that what they do is unlawful and illegal, and you can take any of two ways. You can choose to go the criminal way. You have the fellow arrested, then they are put in. That's when you discover that the person you're arresting is barely 18 years of age. Because in social media, everyone is equal. They're barely 18. They probably don't even have any proper job. And then suddenly the entire clan is at you that please release the boy or the girl. And you see, you also can't keep doing this. And once you do it, it's not as if it automatically stops. Someone else starts another anonymous account. Or you go the way of defamation. Now, if you go the way of defamation, it is tedious, it takes long, and even if you are awarded money in defamation, you find that you had wasted your money in going to court because you cannot be paid. So it is real. I think that when we condemn leaders and urge restraint, and I personally urge restraint, we must equally speak against bullying in that manner. Let me now come to Governor Sang. I also saw that they had, said, and I think they showed the clip that he had accompanied some people to uproot, some tea and all that. Now, I understand the sense of outrage that any people, including the people of Nandi County, have when they think land that was public land has been taken by somebody, and therefore they need to take it back. And I would urge that there is nothing wrong with continuous agitation that all public land must be returned. But I would be reluctant to urge any person, even elected person, to just go there, and start uprooting or demolishing, unless it is a competent authority, okay? If it is a competent authority, it is okay, because they will have ascertained it and all that. But the second thing about it is, I also urge leaders that when you learn that the police are actually looking for you, don't hide. Don't wait for it to be funny, because I have always urged that even leaders must be handled with decorum. But part of that decorum is that if the police say they want you, then you also go there as you expect decorum. And lastly, I want to urge the DCI once more and the ESCC that even when you believe you are right, and many times they are right, but a court of law intervenes, then respect that court of law. Unless that matter is set aside, if you think the judge or magistrate was wrong, again take it up, because all wrongdoing must be brought to book. But the only sense we can fight impunity is not to practice impunity. Everything must be as per law, and everyone must respect the law. That is what I would say on this one.
Wamatangi, you're not surprised that Otiende Amolo has not, picked his constitution and flipped over to chapter 6.
In fact,
today, his own constitution is missing. The book.
The first thing I was expecting he was going to do was to open
I
the
have it all
constitution,
on my head. That's
go
why I didn't
to the chapter. Actually, Otiende, I expected that your opening remarks would have been first straight from the Constitution, and you go to Article 10 and the leadership and integrity. Those are the things that I expected to be saying. But of course, because you had to start with the point that you wanted to put Jakoyo in his place on the argument he made. And of course, the presumed competition between him and the incumbent, who was confirmed through a court process. I think then that made you forget your companion, the Constitution. But however, Debarl, when you speak about physical assault in that manner, sometimes, and that's why the benefit of experience sometimes is important. Sometimes in the late 1980s, Debarl, when I was a very young man, I witnessed my own in-law on a Sunday afternoon having driven out of a church in Kericho town, parked his vehicle outside the DC's residence. Unfortunately, the vehicle was on the grass that is near the DC's compound. The DC walked out, and this guy was coming from church with his children, with his girls and wife, and when he parked to get out, he slapped him twice on the face in front of his wife and children as he was walking to the post office. That's opposite Kericho. He's crying, stepping on the grass and parking his vehicle there. And there is no level of dehumanization to a human being that would be beyond that. And that's why you heard me asking that question. When you see that man sitting on the seat and is being slapped from the left, slapped from the right, and we have to be true, Otiende, as you are making this contribution, which as I said, I expect you to be very lawful about, that even in the law, Debarl, caning a criminal has got to be prescribed and has got to be handed down by a court of law. Even if you are a criminal, it can only be in a sentence whereby they will say you receive 3 strokes of the... Indeed, it does not even happen now. Remember that even in schools, we have gone to the extent of illegalizing caning of children by school teachers. in schools. So then what you would be asking yourself, at the apex of leadership, whereby you have elected leaders, being the ones who are taking the first step in administering such kind of dehumanization, then what would you be saying? And I don't know, maybe as Aaron Chariot said, maybe this is justice a game way, because Jakoyo ought to have set the precedent, and then so you would probably only say that Honorable Elisha was only following the laid down procedures of dealing with but you know, we must say clearly, Debarl, that this has no place in modern leadership. There is no way you would accept a situation whereby that you have leaders who want to go cane, whip, slap their own voters, their own constituencies for real and imagined offenses.
You should have seen the way Jacob is really pleading with you.
But
Jacob is making all manner of offenses.
As much as he want, I mean, I was only referring to his own admission that he set the pace. He laid down the precedent. But now that you have repented and it is within us to forgive, and you said you asked for forgiveness, I believe the people forgave you, so we also forgive you. But,
yes, you know, you must remember, Jakoyo was the chief whip. So I think he took the title a bit too literally.
So anyway, you guys are killing me.
I mean, my last point would be that,
You forgot
instructively, let us respect the law. It is laid down in law. As leaders, we cannot afford to set this kind of example, Mr. Chief Whip. It's not, we can't.
Morning.
My MPs are just following my...
Yes, I think because of repeated pleading from my brother Jakoyo, I will not belabor the issue of game. However, may I request our leaders that the modern world, unless you don't want to be asked questions the way this young man was asking Elisha, the only option you have is to vacate office. Otherwise, people are at liberty to ask us many questions in whatever language as they care, so long as you remain their leader. For God's sake, they voted for you and they had expectations. So we would like Elisha to move out of the DNA of game leaders, of beating people, of beating their voters, and actually respond to the modern way of being oversighted by the people who have elected you. I want to say my final point on Governor Sang. We have waited for something from the DCI to justify why Sang is wrong. Similarly, we have waited from the Inspector of Police. We are not hearing. Sang, he spoke to us, and he clearly told that there was a court process. And in that court process, the current owner of the so-called owner of that tea estate had made prayers to the court that they restrain other people from trespassing on that land. That prayer was not granted by the court. And now when Sang got these orders, he went to that land to try and now prepare it for reconstruction of the cattle dip that this man had destroyed when he came in to plant tea. So because Sang was backed by court orders, we are tempted to believe that Sang was right. And I want to conclude with two remarks. The first one is to the police, that we are tired of a situation whereby when police is in the process of carrying out investigations in issues involving our leaders, the first thing they do is to start persecuting them. What would have stopped the police from concluding the investigations, and if there are enough grounds to arrest Sang, then they go ahead and arrest him. When they whisked him all the way from Kapsabet to Kisumu, knowing very well that Sang was actually having an anticipatory bail. It was actually impunity on the part of the IG. And finally, the government. What you are seeing in Kapsabet, it is a loud statement by what government has failed to do. I.e., there was the Ndungu report that was brought to Parliament. Jokoyo and I were there. We debated it and actually adopted it as a document that required action. Government has refused to act on the Ndungu report. The Ndungu report speaks to this land that is bringing problems in Kapsabet. Secondly, there is the issue of the TGRC report. Government should not sit on those reports. They should act on the TGRC, act on Ndungu reports. Then we shall not have people like Sang trying to do that which the government should have done.
Right. Okay, as you're winding up on it, on the law
There's
issue,
something, yes, there's something Dr.
especially
Lwala
chapter
said.
6, in light of this.
There's something Dr. Lwala said which should not go uncorrected. First, he started by saying, we expected DCI to speak to us. And I was curious that he explains who us is in this context.
The people.
Because he then goes ahead to condemn government. You know, and I thought he just celebrated joining government right now. But when you explain that that somebody went to court to get restraining orders and was not given, failure to give Jakoyo restraining orders is not an order for me to act. In other words, if you are refused an injunction, it does not mean I have been granted the contrary. It means all the parties are supposed to be peaceful until the court has made the decision. Therefore, there's no way you can say Governor Sang was right because the other guy was denied an injunction. But more importantly, I think that, and I agree with you, Dr. Lwala, and I think we all said this, that all institutions, including DCI, must respect the courts. Now, I read in the papers, I think the commander of Kisumu said they had not been served. But I assume that once they are served, they will respect that order.
I can actually give an account of that because I was there at Kisumu yesterday in the evening. And when the orders, first of all, these orders were obtained at 10 a.m. in the morning. Governor Sang's legal team served it on DCI in Eldred because that was the closest DCI office to where he was arrested. They refused to honor those orders and said, after all, the client is not here, he's in Kisumu. So they took, on their own volition, they traveled all the way to Kisumu, but on reaching the police station, all the officers that are supposed to be served, they took off, of course on instruction, and they said, those are the instruction on orders from above. I have said this, and I said it in Parliament last week, that hardly 3 months after we vetted IG Mutiambai, he has been a complete letdown. I saw the answers that he gave before the parliamentary committee that vetted him. I took time to read, especially I was keen on things to do how he intends to handle matters like police brutality and respect to the rule of law. And he gave clear, concise answer, which unfortunately, it turns out that he doesn't believe in them. Because if he believed in the words and the promise that he made to the people of Kenya through their representatives, it was on account of his answers that I voted yes to approve the IG. But given the conduct, because this is not the first order that he is disobeying, it is clear that the current IG is slowly turning the police force into a political outfit, where certain political forces are giving instructions to him. You have seen the issue of how he is withdrawing security of members of parliament at will. You have seen them guarding offices belonging to shadowy characters. You have now seen the obvious disregard. Therefore, I want to this morning tell IG Mutiambai that history will judge you extremely harshly if you don't have the wherewithal to withstand all the forces that are against you standing up to the rule of law. Then you better vacate office. And you know, we are not asking him to do us any favor. We're just saying respect this constitution. How difficult can that be?
All right. We have review here. Jaco, you have to say something?
Yes. I think Debarl chapter 6 applies to all of us. Whether it is Jacoyo, whether it is Elisha Diambo, whether it is Otiende Amolo, but whether it is the police. Because police cannot disobey court order. And I can tell you that going to my left, the three of them, they refuse to let us reform the police force. We must get to a point where we must reform the police force.
Thank you.
Chapter 6 was made for all of us, and
Right.
I think it was meant to correct the Jacoyos of the world.
Yeah, and that is what actually I wanted to just come to. And we have review here on Twitter saying what I picked from the panel is that matters is what matters is, okay, let me just repeat it. What I picked from the panel is what matters is which side you are on. No single one of them has condemned the actual act by a gay member of parliament of taking the law into his own hands. Even Otiende Amolo, if the guy had posted incorrect information, why not sue? And this is now chapter 6 of the Constitution, looking at how he behaved. And the authority assigned to a state officer, A, is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that is consistent with the purposes and objects of this Constitution, demonstrates respect for the people. Respect for the people. 3, brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office. Promote public confidence in the integrity of the office and vests in the state officers the responsibility to serve the people rather than the power to rule them. And guiding, also looking at that particular, that should be the guiding philosophy on how a public officer or a state officer should act. Do you think from your own assessment, what we've seen with Sang, what we've seen with Elisha as well, they acted in the wisest of fashion as far as, carrying themselves with decorum in regard to chapter 6 of the Constitution, and what should be the way forward even as we're preparing our headline thoughts?
I can start.
Please.
I think we've made this point, and let me restate my position on this. I have said what Governor Sang did was wrong. I have said what is depicted to have been done by Honorable Elisha would be wrong. But I have said that I leave it to the investigative authorities. In the case of Governor Sang, the investigative authorities have concluded that it is important that he be arrested. In the case of Honorable Elisha Diambo, there has been no such conclusion. And that's where I've left it. But the point we are making, and I think we made it, we have all urged restraint on leaders, restraint by elected leaders. But in the same breath, we have said we must equally condemn, all of us, not just us here, unnecessary cyberbullying, because freedom of expression is important in this country. And Article 33 is clear. Let me now carry it so that Governor Wamatangi, Senator Wamatangi will be happy. Article 33 on freedom of expression, 33.2, allows freedom of expression, but has 4 exemptions. Propaganda for war, incitement to violence, hate speech, or advocacy of hatred. All this, and there are volumes and volumes of hate speech that also come. We must equally condemn that. That is the only point we are making.
Yes. Right, thank you. Enon Chiriot, also your headline thoughts?
Exactly,
Finally.
because, I don't know why in this country it is so difficult to distinguish sometimes and carry on an argument beyond one position. This existence in duality where you are either for or that, even in a debate as this, we are only being limited to say you either condemn Elisha or you support him. I mean, don't we have the broadband in our heads to reason beyond it? Because we have said, I can never beat up a constituent, and what Elisha did was wrong. You're not supposed to do it. But I have added that we need also to go beyond it and ask of many of the social media users that the issue of cyberbullying is becoming a very dangerous global phenomenon. Today, you may insult a leader. He may not have, he may have the restraint not to go after you. But tomorrow, you'll insult somebody who is not a leader, and they don't have, the thick skin to absorb that kind of, they'll come for you.
Thank you.
Therefore, it cannot be proper that people wake up on each and every day to trade on hate speech.
Thank you.
That is what we are against.
Right, Bonnie, your headline thoughts as well?
I think I'd already concluded that I do not agree with Honorable Elisha or any other leader who thinks that if they are subject to oversight questions through the social media, then they must beat up people. I mean, if Jacoyo was to resort to beating people for the kind of harassment he used to be subjected to when we were with him in Parliament, up to and including him going as far as suing one of the media houses, he would have killed somebody. It's normal for you to be asked questions, and you should develop, as using your own language, you should develop a thick skin and just know that I lead people, they're going to ask me questions.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Okay.
By the way, Elisha also has a history. He has a history of attempting to use force anywhere and everywhere. He in fact attempted it on me when he was working for Kidero. He attempted to kill me in a courtroom here in Nairobi. And when my
kill
boys,
you?
Yes.
This is a very serious allegation.
Oh yes, he did.
Kill in what manner?
Yes, I will tell you. You know it because you are in the media. When he attempted to do it, the boys who were sympathetic to my cause taught him a lesson which is unlikely to forget.
No, those are serious. I need you to clarify because I can't just.
To make for
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
who's not on the panel.
Especially somebody as fit as Alwale, it is not very easy to strangle him.
Because from what I remember of that incident, Halwale took off, and the person he accused was not. I cannot say the name now for similar reasons as I was saying, but he accused somebody else.
All right. Okay then. Wamatangi, lastly.
Yeah, Debarl, I think I had also made my thoughts known. I think what I would
30
add
seconds,
on
Wamatangi.
that one is that I think harassment by these social media bloggers and so on, and I think I remember last week the Nation Media Group itself was up in arms against the bloggers who were trying to invade and attack you. You ran so many pages and tried to explain. Debarl, so you
No,
have
it was
a taste,
only a single
you have,
page.
you have a taste of
We
the
were
medicine
we were
that you're
exaggerating.
talking about. The way it works, in my view, is this: you have to realize once you get elected that this like your day's life. And what I've learned to do myself is ignore it. There are people actually who are paid daily to go and witch hunt you. You will find somebody has opened a new front there. They're trying to ask what was he doing in the year 2000 and build stories around it. So that is a part of this profession. Yeah. So you have to learn to live with it. Lastly, Debarl, I thought that we would have had a word on this story about this push by heads of schools to have the consent age raised because of the appellate court judges' push to have it lowered to the age of 16. I believe with the plight of teenage pregnancies that we've had, we should have had a word on this, this morning. But maybe let's get time.
Well, having heard Boni with the statement about the sex workers, I thought maybe we shouldn't go really that way this morning.
I believe that was a good. And Debarl, on the issue, also on division of revenue, on the issue.
Thank you very much. Those are your.
Because if counties will be going without
Thank you.
monies for the next many days because of the statement that's there in Parliament,
Thank you.
We should have also had a word on that.
Thank you. Yeah. Right, we are strapped for time. We really thank you also for your participation on social media. I can see good reactions as well. And I think today I've really enjoyed the show. It was a light moment to have Boni Halwale also being welcome to the Jubilee Party on the show. We thank you for being a salutary, of course, supporter of people in politics here. You've been here for a while, and we thank you so much as well. And thank you also, obviously, for your valued company. Living with Us is up next.